All right, she lost an election, and now she's projecting. Hillary Clinton went on The View this week, which immediately raises a serious question. What's the weight capacity for that stage? But you'll never guess what she talked about. Her love of gardening, the things she does to stay healthy, how much she adores catching and cooking stray kittens. Nah, it was Donald Trump, as expected. But it's like I always tell Taylor Swift, girl, you gotta move on. Seriously, Trump doesn't just live in Hillary's brain. He's built a 500-unit condo with in-unit laundry and a rooftop lounge.
When Greg Gutfeld sets his sights on a political figure, it's not just a critique, it's a full-on spectacle. And when Hillary Clinton ends up in his crosshairs, you already know it's about to get messy. With his razor-edged humor and brutal honesty, Gutfeld doesn't just poke fun, he tears down the glossy political facade layer by layer. He dives straight through the press-approved version of Hillary to uncover the real character lurking behind the carefully managed photo ops and polished soundbites. From the infamous email server scandal to questionable foreign policy decisions, no stone is left unturned. What you're about to witness isn't just a takedown, it's a comedic wrecking ball swinging with style.
Registered voters said any Republican would be better than President Biden, prompting one woman to legally change her name to NE Republican. In Washington, D.C., the giant grocery chain has announced a ban on large bags. Great, now where will I shop, complains one large bag.
Quick reminder, if you're enjoying the content, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon, because things are just getting started. Now, imagine waking up one morning, stretching out, grabbing your overpriced vanilla oat milk latte, and suddenly thinking, you know what the world really needs? Another round of insightful wisdom from Hillary Clinton. Because clearly, nothing heals national wounds quite like the return of someone who's dodged more controversies than your cousin dodges job applications. The idea alone is so absurd, it's practically satire. And yet, here we are, front row seats to another masterclass in political reinvention.
Hillary Clinton argues Joe should be, quote, direct and forceful, end quote, against Trump in the CNN debate. Yeah, direct and forceful, just like the noose I put around Epstein's neck. If I did it.
Enter Gutfeld, stage right, with all the subtlety of a bull in a china shop and the energy of a stand-up comic who's just been handed a goldmine. And make no mistake, this wasn't just a roast, it was a full-on verbal firestorm. A political roast meets wrecking crew extravaganza. His jokes weren't just barbs, they were verbal fireworks aimed straight at the heart of Hillary's brand. Imagine a roast where every punchline comes wrapped in historical receipts. Yeah, it was that kind of performance. And if you think we're exaggerating, just wait. This was only the opening act.
Warning signals that you were gonna lose? Well, too bad you didn't bother to visit the states you ended up losing, you potato-shaped wine bag. But would he even be worse now?
I think that he'd be even worse now. Yeah. Because he was somewhat restrained, believe it or not, in the first term by people who he hired because he thought they would go along with him, and they
If political comebacks had a blooper reel, Hillary would own the franchise. Every few years, like a reboot of a TV show that never quite worked, she makes another grand entrance, new wardrobe, new branding, same playbook. Armed with a fresh narrative and a polished sense of moral superiority, she steps back into the spotlight like the hero no one asked for but somehow still got. It's almost poetic, if poetry were written by interns in Comic Sans and reviewed by a boardroom full of consultants who think authenticity is a campaign slogan.
And, they're going to try to ignore him for as long as they can because they're deathly afraid of him. And they're going to do to him what they did to me in the Democratic primary of 2020, which is pretend you don't exist. And then if people start noticing you, then they will try to smear and cancel and destroy him at all costs.
I remember what Hillary did to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she's still standing,
baseless smears that repeated over and over and over again by the propaganda media until people actually start to believe it, and it starts causing some real damage.
But on the bright side,
Greg, naturally, didn't waste a moment. His eyes lit up like a kid about to set off fireworks in the backyard, and what followed was pure political mayhem. Imagine throwing Mentos into Diet Coke, not just one, but a whole pack. Only here, the Coke was Hillary's carefully cultivated legacy, and the Mentos? Truth bombs wrapped in sarcasm and dipped in comedic timing. He shredded through decades of PR with the ease of someone opening a bag of chips. Sour cream flavor, with a hint of electoral regret. And the crowd? Loving every second.
asking Hillary what will happen if Trump is reelected, which is odd because Hillary's an expert on not getting elected. I wonder, does she think it would end our country as we know it?
I think it would be the end of our country as we know it. And I don't say that lightly. You know, I hated losing, and I especially hated losing to him because I had seen so many warning signals during the campaign.
And then came the 2016 election, the plot twist that made brunch awkward in every coastal city. Hillary was supposed to win. That was the narrative. That was the Hollywood script. The champagne was chilled, the tweets pre-written, and the victory laps rehearsed. But America, in true wild card fashion, said, actually, nah. Hillary took the loss like any seasoned political veteran, by writing multiple books, launching a global blame tour, and pointing fingers at everything from Macedonian meme farms to ancient Greek curses. Meanwhile, Gutfeld took those excuses and treated them like party favors, tossing them one by one into the crowd with punchlines sharp enough to cut through steel.
This is why lefties always get all the commencement addresses, and they love to spout their opinions on award shows because they know there's no journalist there that will ask them a question. And the reason why, and he's the perfect example, none of their opinions are actually real. They are all assigned.
Now let's talk about the crown jewel of Clinton controversies, the Clinton Foundation. On the surface, it glimmered like a beacon of charity, but peel back the curtain and it looked more like a cleverly branded family business masquerading as a philanthropic powerhouse. Millions poured in, and yet somehow the world remained just as broken. Coincidence? Maybe. Convenient? Definitely. Greg unpacked it with childlike excitement, like opening a gift labeled "Scandal." And Hillary's high-paid Wall Street speeches? Less inspiring leader and more board executive reading from a gold-plated cue card. 6 figures to tell the financial elite that everything's fine. If that's not the political version of a lullaby, what is?
Been in the Democratic Party's pocket since Hillary stopped having sex.
That's like decades.
Yeah. Losing the union endorsement is like P. Diddy running out of baby oil. There's a whole lot of friction ahead. When Teamsters polled their members about the Dems' new candidate, Cackles McKnee pads.
Then came her dramatic rebrand as a truth crusader, which, let's be honest, is rich coming from someone who once declared she was dead broke while sitting on enough real estate to make Monopoly players jealous. Her relationship with the truth isn't just complicated, it's practically estranged. And yet, like clockwork, she steps onto the stage, striking the pose of a political saint wronged by the world. Gutfeld didn't just call it out, he dissected it with surgical precision. His takedown had the bite of a roast and the clarity of a documentary. It felt like watching the History Channel, if it were written by stand-up comics. Every so-called relatable moment from Hillary plays out like an overproduced campaign ad, forced, filtered, and approved by a room full of PR interns. Whether it's her sipping beer at a bar or awkwardly riding the subway, it all feels less like authenticity and more like method acting gone wrong.
The alleged creator of the plan was Julianne Smith, a Clinton policy advisor that the unclassified Durham report refers to as Foreign Policy Advisor 1. And this woman, look how happy she is. She's like, I got away with everything. I nailed it. And then Obama made me the liaison to NATO. I mean, not Obama, Biden. Like I continue to get employed by these people because all I do is sit around and do the illicit bidding of my Democrat power boss.
But let's talk about the real kicker. Gutfeld tossed out one of the most savage observations yet. that Hillary Clinton has the uncanny ability to doom everything she supports. Endorse a candidate? They lose. Back a policy? It crashes and burns. Honestly, if she ever voiced support for gravity, we'd probably start floating by noon. It's like she's been cursed by the ancient gods of political irony. And back at Clinton HQ, the strategy remains painfully predictable: deny everything, deflect constantly, and for the love of poll numbers, never take responsibility. It's like watching a magician who only knows one trick, making accountability vanish in thin air. Is it unfair to pin so much on her? Maybe. Is it fun to watch? You bet. Because there's something undeniably entertaining about a politician who's been around since the dial-up era still trying to sell themselves as the fresh face of change.
This one is wild. This is Hillary Clinton in like 2008, and Hillary Clinton saying some wild MAGA type shit.
Tell people to come out of the shadows. If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked, they're gone. If they...
She's a Republican.
If they've been working and are law-abiding, we should say, here are the conditions for you staying. You have to pay a stiff fine because you came here illegally. You have to pay back taxes. And you have to try to learn English. And you have to wait in line.
You have to wait in line. You have to wait in line. It's all
couldn't believe that.
Illusion.
Greg, of course, didn't even break a sweat. With his signature mix of dry humor and killer timing, he laid out the facts like a surgeon with a mic: precise, relentless, and funny as hell. What made it even better? Hillary wasn't even there. She didn't have to be. The roast was so perfectly cooked, you could practically hear Gordon Ramsay yelling, "Finally," from the sidelines. But here's the thing, like every recurring character in a political sitcom, she's never really gone. Odds are, the next chapter involves another book deal, another round of interviews, maybe a docuseries titled Still Not Finished. And as long as she keeps resurfacing like a political Furby you just can't turn off, Gutfeld, and the audience, will be right there, ready with popcorn and punchlines. Because let's be honest, few things are more binge-worthy than watching someone trip over their own legacy again and again.
Hillary Clinton, of course, is the original election denier. I'm sure you voted for her in 2016.
Well, she's not an election denier.
She absolutely was the OG election denier.
First of all, she came out before the sun had risen to concede the election to Trump.
And then spent the next 4 years saying he was illegitimate.
She reappears, dressed in another immaculately chosen blazer, armed with a few carefully crafted one-liners dressed up as wisdom, and flashes that iconic smile, the one that says, "I know things you'll never prove." The crowd nods, claps politely, maybe even tears up a little, as if she just brokered world peace between coffee and commercial breaks. She'll drop a line like, "We must protect democracy," and somehow it sounds more like a spam email wearing a TED Talk costume. That's the performance. It's not about substance, it's about the illusion of depth. Greg didn't just poke holes in the act, he ripped off the mask, pulled down the curtains, and handed the audience a front-row view of the backstage mess. He reminded everyone that behind the dramatic monologues and carefully staged interviews lies a legacy built on selective memory and relentless spin.
Doesn't mean that Hillary would have been a good choice either. She was a terrible choice. She's a corrupt politician, one of the most unlikable people that's ever run for office. They were trying to get people to be supporting her just because she's a woman. This is going to be her history. Women, ladies, I stand with her. So there's all these women that have this blind allegiance towards this career politician, completely full of shit. She's been full of shit forever.
Greg wrapped it up by delivering the ultimate reminder: Hillary Clinton isn't the wise old Jedi of politics she tries to play. She's more like an HR manager who never got over a bad email chain. The crowd ate it up like it was Thanksgiving dinner. Why? Because he said exactly what most people are only brave enough to whisper over mashed potatoes and awkward holiday dinners. Her entire career feels like a PowerPoint presentation of contradictions, a self-declared champion of women, except the ones who speak out against her allies, a defender of truth, unless that truth shows up in subpoenaed documents, a voice for the people, but mostly the ones with lobbyist connections and private jets. And here's the irony, the delicious, poetic twist of it all: for all her rebranding, repositioning, and reinvention, Hillary has never embraced the one quality that could have actually reshaped her public image: genuine humility. Gutfeld didn't just roast her for laughs, he held up a brutally honest mirror. And when the laughter faded, What remained wasn't a misunderstood leader, it was someone who still thinks she's the hero of a story the audience stopped watching seasons ago. When it comes to political drama, she doesn't just serve the tea, she is the tea. Bitter, oversteeped, and somehow still boiling.